programs. We're now going to go over the homework for Thursday, April 22nd. Okay, this is on page 62 and 63 in your Staar Review book. Problem 1 comes from coordinate grids. If you look in your math notes from the year, it will be on pages 5 and 6. Okay, it says the point below shows the point in the coordinate grid has x and y coordinates that are opposites of -3, 4. That means I'm going to take the opposite of -3, make it a 3. The opposite of 4, make it a -4. What point covers this one now? So it means I'm going to go 3 spaces to the right and 4 spaces down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is point T. Next, your next one is independent and dependent variables here. So you could find this on page 71 and 72 in your math notes. Michelle walks her dog every morning. The graph shows the distance they walked one morning. Based on the graph, identify the dependent quantity. Dependence would be your y-axis here. What number on this side represents after she walks her dogs for 2/3 of an hour? Well, we really just have to know, because this is in minutes, we need to know what 2/3 of an hour is. So a couple of ways to do it. You could say, well, 2/3 of, that means times 60 over 1, would be 120 divided by 3. Or you could say, well, 1/3 of an hour is 20 minutes. So 2/3 would be doubling that, which would be 40 minutes. Okay, so at 40 minutes, what is my dependent quantity? 2 miles. Okay. All right, the next problem, it's a pretty tough problem. It's a lot of big numbers, but you could either, I'm going to show you 2 strategies to solve this. You could find them if you use the multiplying decimals method on 23 and 24, or if you use percent proportions, you go to 55 and 56. All right, so one type of passenger airplane holds 56,000 gallons of jet fuel. The airplane uses 1,800ths of its fuel on a flight from Houston, Texas to New York, New York. How many gallons does it use during a round trip? Now, round trip means I'm going to fly to my location and back. So I'm doubling the distance, okay? But that's all right. 1,800ths of its fuel. Remember, a part of a number, it's like a fraction of a number, means multiply. So I could say, well, 56,000 miles, and I want to know 1,800ths of that. I could just multiply that. A part of a number means multiply, and I would get 10,080 miles. Okay, or gallons, I'm sorry, gallons there. But that's one way. But if I'm looking at round trip, I'm going to double it, and I would get 20,160 gallons. Okay, that's one way. That's the multiplying decimals way. But if I could do percent proportions, I could say, well, I know that 1,800ths means 18%. So 18% over 100%, I could put my 56,000 over here. So I could cross multiply and divide. I would still get the same number right here because that is for one way. But round trip means I'm going to travel to and from on this trip. So I would still have to double it. So my answer there is C. All right, the next one is about credit history. You would find this on page 43 and 44 in your math notes. What type of information would not appear on your credit report? Well, anything that those banks would need to prove how responsible you are would be on there. Where you work, where you lived, your credit card balance. But when you borrow money from your parents, that's just kind of a personal exchange. So that is not on your credit report, okay? Because we're looking for not. Pay attention to those words, okay? All right, the next problem is a fraction decimal percent problem. You could find help for this on page 53 and 54 in your math notes. Mr. Roberts keeps a record of how many hours his students practice violin each day. Based on this chart, what is the fraction of time that Melanie spends practicing violin? So it's 1.36. Well, that means 1 and 3600ths. Your decimal means out of 100 there. So I just need to simplify. That 1, they all have a 1 in front of it, right? So I'm just going to take my 36/100ths and I simplify it. I just have to know what can they both divide by. Well, I know they both divide by 4. 36 divided by 4 is 9. 100 divided by 4 is 25. I could also divide by 2, and I would get 18/50, and I would have to divide again. But that's okay. You still get 9/25. All right. The next one is we're working on writing an inequality. So it would be on page 67 and 68. And we're not actually solving the inequality, though, okay? So Jasmine has 20 apps on her phone. Whoa, so sorry. Okay, she has 20. And we want to know, Walt has at least 32. Well, at least means greater than or equal to. Okay, but we want to know how many more he has. So if you take her 20 plus however many more he has, you're going to get at least or greater than 32. Okay, so it's A. You could also solve it and figure out which of these answer choices you could put in there for W. All right, the next one. Page 95 and 96 is where you find stem and leaf plots in your notebook. All right, in gym class, students measured their heart rates after performing 30 minutes or 30 jumping jacks. Mr. Jones recorded the heart rates on their stem and leaf plots. So we want to know the difference, that means subtract, between the lowest and highest. So this number right here represents 89, and this number here represents 117. So we're going to subtract those. Now this is a lot of borrowing here, right? Because I can't do 7 minus 9 and 1 minus 8. Okay, so when I can't do 7 minus 9, I'm going to go over here and borrow a 10. Leaves me 0 tens there, but it's okay. I'm going to add a 10 here. So 17 minus 9 is an 8. But I can't do 0 minus 8, can I? I'm going to borrow a 10 from there and put it here. So I have 10 minus 8 and I get 2. My answer here is 28. That was the range. All right, the next problem here is comparing and ordering rational numbers. You can find this on page 13 and 14 in your math notebook. This table shows the number of miles run each day of the week. Which list has them in order from least to greatest? Okay, well, first thing is I can roll out 2 answer choices. Because if I look at each of these and I say, let's use reasonableness to see what's less than or greater than 1/2. Well, 1/3 is less than 1/2. 2/5 is less than 1/2. 3/8 is less than 1/2. But 1/2, that's 1/2. That means that's got to be the biggest number there. So if I'm looking for least to greatest, my last number is the greatest one, which is Thursday. Well, this has Monday and Tuesday last, so it means I can roll out A and B. Okay, the largest is Thursday. Now, they're all less than 1/2, so I'm going to make them all decimals. 1/3. If I take 1 divided by 3, this is top dog, remember? I get 0.333. Now, right here, if I take 2/5, 2 divided by 5, right, I'm going to get a 4.4. But I'm going to add a few extra zeros here, just because I know that 8s go into the thousands, okay? So 3 divided by 8 is going to be 0.375. All right, so now I just have to see what's the smallest. 333 thousandths, 400 thousandths, or 375 thousandths. I'm going to say it is 333 thousandths, which is Monday that has to go first, okay? So my answer there is C. All right, last problem is order of operations. You can find help for this on page 61 and 62 in your notebook. All right, but it also involves some integers here. Okay, so first thing I do in the parentheses, -5 times -4. Remember your multiplication for integers? When multiplying and dividing, you can use this rule. I have a positive and a negative and a negative. I cover up the 2 that I have. Negative times a negative, my answer is going to be positive. So -5 times -4 is positive 20. Okay, divided by, now I have another set of parentheses. -3 plus 5. Well, 1, 2, 3 plus 5 positives. Remember this? I'm going to look for my 0 pairs. These are small numbers. I'm going to be left with positive 2. So I have positive 20 divided by positive 2. My answer is just a 10. Okay, Rams, if you have any questions about your homework, come in and ask us in class, okay? Have a good day.